Hey, Ben.
Oh, goody.
How's it going?
How's it happening?
How is it happening, Ben? And why did it do? This is the 400th episode of the
Episode
GudeLaurance
400.
podcast. Yes.
400.
Now, as those who are fans of GudeLaurance will know, this is one of our bits, quote unquote, that we call endurance bits. Things that people can't imagine that we are doing for so long. Another example of an endurance bit was, Ben, what was the thing where we were at the hotel and we did the...
It was called Motel. The event was called Motel. What we did was a little film called Replica.
Replica, that's right.
Yeah.
And could you help me describe to the people what Replica was?
I'll explain the process. I don't know if I can describe what it was because it was weird, but I will describe the process with which we made it. We had this motel room on Aurora Avenue North for about 18 hours. 18 hours straight.
Explain to the people Aurora Avenue North. What's it like? What's
Well, if you
Aurora
can imagine
Avenue North in what year was it? Do you remember?
God, no, I don't remember what year it was. It was like the late 2000s, so like 2009, 2010.
Okay, yeah.
Aurora Avenue North is that part of a town that has rundown motels with sex workers walking the streets. It is generally considered to be a dangerous part of town at nighttime.
And we got a motel room there for 18 hours. Absolutely no way for there not to be some nighttime involved in those 18 hours. But yeah, so that was an endurance piece. We've done others where it's just basically, do you have the tolerance to watch us do a thing? Well, imagine how hard it is for us to do it. So the basic idea is that this has gone on for 400 episodes, and may there be 400 more, I say, Ben Lawrence.
Yeah.
So what we're doing, basically, two things with this podcast. We are, number one, creating a record for people hundreds of years in the future to find out what life was like in the 2020s and, well, in the 21st century. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
And then also giving a gigantic library of content to any AIs out there that eventually are going to try to replicate Ben and I, with the thought, I'm just going to share once again, that perhaps the lives that Ben and I think we're leading are actually simulations of the real lives of the real Ben Lawrence and Paul Goody that we describe in these podcasts.
We are simulations in and of ourselves.
Yes. One of the reasons why I don't want to mention work too much is because then, if I don't mention it too much, the work that they create for me is a new extrapolated. Oh, I'll say this, though. It's great, and everyone loves me, and I am fulfilled. So get to work on that.
I'm going to try, Paul, I'm going to try something. This is only for the people on the stream. I was on a Zoom meeting earlier today, and somebody made a couple of different hand gestures, and it activated something within Zoom that created effects on screen.
What?
Yeah, it's so Zoom updates constantly, as you may know.
Yeah.
And mine updated successfully right as I turned it on today. And I was in a meeting earlier today, and somebody made a heart shape with their hands, and it created floating hearts on screen. So I'm going to do that now to see if it works for us.
Let's see if it works.
Here's a little heart shape. Oh my God!
Oh, wait. What? Does it work for me? Does it work for... Can I do this too? No, I can't.
Maybe you.
I have
I
the
think
old
you.
version.
I think you need to. Yeah, you need to update your Zoom client. There
Oh
was something else.
no!
I can't. There was something else that made something. Some other hand gesture happened that made like balloons fly up. I don't remember what it was, but
Well, that is weird. And I, for one, am sad that I don't have it. I will say this: my therapy appointments, which I will talk about therapy. My therapy appointments don't happen, in an office. They happen on Zoom. So if I can get this to work, it'll be pretty crazy.
oh, there's Zoom must have like a thing. Reactions.
Yeah, like a little note saying this is
like,
how to do all the
what
things.
are recognize hand gestures? I'm wondering. Maybe I'll look it up somewhere else. Maybe like that. Clapping isn't no. Hearts is obviously a hand gesture. You got to be very specific, I guess. And maybe it only does it once. Snapping.
It's just not working, Ben.
Yeah.
Wu-Tang.
for the audio, people just only listening.
Do you cross your thumbs with the Wu-Tang thing? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Sorry, Wu-Tang Clan.
Notes, no more.
Oh.
Nope.
Hey, Ben.
Yes, Paul.
It should be noted today that a new Speaker of the House has been elected.
Oh, yeah. That happened yesterday as we record this.
People made fun of the Republican Party for not being able to rally behind a candidate, and then they found one, and now they've done it.
Yeah. This guy named Mike Johnson.
When people ask me what I think about Mike Johnson, I say he seems clean and articulate, because I think that's a wonderful thing to mention.
Yeah, and it's probably the only positive thing to say about him.
Well, here's the thing. He says stuff with which I don't agree, but it seems as though he's thought about it and is saying it with his full attention.
The most feedback I've seen about his speakership is, or him as a person, is that he is an election denier and worked to overturn the 2020 election, and is deep in the MAGA state, and so that's probably why he was able to win his speakership on the first round.
Yes. Now, the interesting thing about this guy is that from video clips I've seen of him, he seems at least somewhat competent, which should frighten people.
Yeah, indeed.
But is something that, if it is in fact true, will be disarming in some situations. And we'll just have to see what happens. He did a joke about his wife praying for him, and that she's real tired now, something to that effect. Anyway,
because prayer works.
Yeah, maybe so. But it made me think of a joke. It's not his fault. But Ben,
Paul,
you're gonna have to decide.
Uh-oh.
This is our 400th episode. I try not to work blue, but this joke is risque. I don't think I'm going to be swearing, but this is the joke. It's a take on a classic. Make sure you know the time code when I'm starting this. Here it goes.
At 1:10 or 10 minutes.
I just got done masturbating with both hands, and boy, are my arms tired.
Jesus.
I think it's funny. But anyway, because it's humor time, Ben. It's time for jokes.
It is time for jokes. The world is terrible. Terrible things are happening in the world. There was another terrible thing in the United States yesterday, which I'm not going to bring up.
Oh yeah. Well, for the people um, who are wondering,
I don't. I
can
don't
can I
know.
say it?
You can say it. I just don't know enough
Okay.
details. I know it happened. I just don't
Yeah.
know anything else.
In Maine, which is the state of ours that I think is taller than some of Canada. This is Paul not knowing how maps work. I mean that it's farther north
Taller.
than budget. Isn't that
Yes.
like the map is?
Detroit is further north than some of Canada.
Yeah. Detroit, by the way, like I said, if you can go to Canada through Detroit, it's pretty great. There's a bridge that takes you to Canada in Detroit. It's pretty neat. But anyway, a guy in Maine shot people at a restaurant slash bowling alley.
Yeah.
And it was a bunch of people, apparently, multiple people. And
I've
he
heard a
was
couple different numbers, but the latest number I saw were like 13 dead, like 20 something injured.
and he was apparently a firearms instructor and a member of military reserve unit in some branch of the military, and had incidences of mental problems that were documented, and so all those things
And yet he was still able
equal,
to be a firearms instructor and obtain
yes.
weapons legally.
Well, it for me, I think of it sometimes like how when people are like, how does the homeless guy have a cell phone? Well, maybe he got it earlier, that sort of thing. Same sort of deal. This is the problem with, I mean, the problem with, as those who listen here know, whenever the concept of, I'm gonna move my camera back. Whenever the concept of gun control, Ben is playing. For those of you who can't see the video, Ben was playing. It was nice. He was ducking his head down. Oh, now I'm doing it. So whenever it comes to gun control, I am always because Ben and I are both pretty much the same on gun control, but because I live in the Midwest, I feel like I need to speak on the other side of it sometimes. The pumpkin cannon defense, of course, there's a guy that had a pumpkin cannon. It could really hurt a school, but it's his pumpkin cannon on his property, and all he does is shoot out the windows of RVs that he parks on his property. Is there a problem? Maybe not, but handguns are much more portable, that sort of thing. So in this case, it is possible that you and I are going to see eye to eye on this, and that one of the issues that gets tricky when it comes to gun control and advocating for it is that some people can get guns when they are more stable and still will have those guns if they run into a life-changing incident.
Right.
There
There was
are there.
That's
Oh,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
that's not uncommon. In fact, there was a this has nothing to do with guns, but you may have actually Paul. This is going to be Paul going to guess the news.
Oh,
It's an
okay, great. I
instance
will do
where
it.
like an otherwise mentally stable normal person did something extraordinary that could have cost the lives of other people.
Oh,
Paul, there was a flight out of Painfield and Everett to San Francisco that had to be diverted back to Painfield. Why?
because a passenger had diarrhea so bad no, this is a previous time. Let me ask you a question, Ben, because I have been looking at the news lately. Is it that the pilot was perhaps chemically altered in some way?
You're so close.
Okay.
It's
Um,
I'm gonna give you a hint. It wasn't the pilot of that flight.
oh, it wasn't the pilot of that flight. Did a did a guy who wasn't supposed to be flying the plane make his way to the cockpit and start flying the plane?
No, no.
Okay. Because okay, here's the thing. I read something about a guy on mushrooms in a plane. That's the only thing that
That's the story. That's the
that's
story I'm
this.
talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about it then?
So
Because that's all I know. All I know is guy on mushrooms plane.
all right. So what happened was this guy is an Alaska Airlines pilot, and he
Okay.
was essentially doing what pilots do, and he was just going from one airport to another airport. He basically just hitching a ride, right?
Right.
Because he wasn't flying out of Painfield. He was going to fly a flight out of San Francisco.
Gotcha.
So he was just hitching a ride, but he was hitching a ride in the jump seat that's in the cockpit. So he wasn't at the controls. He was sitting in a jump seat, and
Okay.
what happened was he actually pulled a lever that enacted the fire extinguisher controls for the engines, thereby debilitating the engines. He had now.
Jeez.
Here's what I don't know. I don't know if he was actually successful in putting the engines out, in extinguishing the engines. The plane landed safely. Let's get that out of the way. So I don't know if like he wasn't able to do that before the pilot and the co-pilot subdued him and kept him from doing that, or if after they subdued him or before they did, they were able to restart the engines mid-flight. But yes, he did. The story that I heard was that he did mushrooms like 2 days before. And
2 days before.
while he was, and so he got on the plane, he was just hitching a ride, gonna go pilot something else for out of San Francisco, and for whatever reason, the mushrooms just hit him mid-flight, and he thought, this is what I heard, he thought he was dreaming.
Uh-huh.
That
I'm,
is the story.
yeah, I'm familiar with the hippies and their drug culture in some ways. And I've never heard the idea that there's a 2-day delay between consuming mushrooms and them hitting.
I mean, that sounds
I
fishy
mean,
to me, but that's the story I heard. Granted, that's the story I heard, not the one I read.
any mushroom people who listen, let us know. Is that possible? Or is this just an excuse? Oh, speaking about guessing the news, Ben, someone was recently charged with a crime. Everyone thought that they would be charged with a crime, but the person believes that the charges will eventually be dropped. What are we talking about?
Oh gosh, is this a politician?
It is a politician, Ben. I think you already know where we're headed. Maybe.
I actually don't know. What I'm thinking of
I'll
is...
tell you this. I'll tell you this. They are not lying when they say they believe the charges will eventually be dropped. And it's not like an exaggeration. This isn't them misunderstanding how the law works. This is most likely going to be the case.
Ah. Um, does this have to do with our former president?
It doesn't have to do with our
Oh.
former president.
But a politician, nonetheless.
Nonetheless, a politician.
National
Do you want
level
me to give you?
Yeah, give me a hint. I
was
don't know
gonna
the
say,
story.
They are a member of the House of Representatives. They represent New York.
Oh. Member of the House, they represent New York State. Um,
And the thing they're charged with was something related to their job.
their job as a member of the House.
Yes.
Well,
it happened at work. This is what I'll say.
it happened
And
at
it
work.
was not sexual.
Is this a Democrat or a Republican?
This is a Democrat.
All right. I don't actually know this story.
I don't know the name of the representative, but I will tell you what they were charged with.
Tell me what they were charged with.
Pulling a fire alarm.
Ah, yeah, okay.
Yep. So they were the representative was charged, has to pay a fine, but apparently after 3 months of probation, the charges will be dropped, or after 3 months of following whatever edicts the court has, the charges will be dropped.
And I don't remember the specific reason why, but it was I think it was during the speaker voting during Jim Jordan's
It it
term.
wasn't during the speaker voting. It was during the government
Oh
shutdown
yeah,
voting
so and
stuff.
it was an attempt to like delay things to.
There was a vote that was happening. There was a claim that it was an attempt to delay things, right?
Yeah.
What the representative says is that he was locked uh, out of a certain area, and that he thought by pulling the fire alarm, the door would unlock.
Ah, gotcha. I did not hear that
So
story.
I don't know. I mean, this is one of the things that therapy is teaching me, Ben, and I think it's great. And here we go. You've heard me on this podcast speculate about people's motivations and things that they're doing and all that. This is
Yes.
something that Jennifer has told me a lot about already. Here's the basic thing: it will not change my worth as a human being if I am no longer able to predict people's behavior by thinking about what they're going to do and talking about it. I could theoretically, as someone who, at least at one point in time, was known as an improviser, I could just wait until they tell me stuff and then go off of what that is
Yeah.
instead. So that's one of my goals with the therapy thing, is not to overthink why they did something. I'm going to go back on that for just a second, and the basic thing is that um, the impression I got from the story, from the statements that were made, was that he thought that he had intentionally been locked out of a certain area, and this
Oh.
was his attempt to get in.
To keep him from doing some part of his job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's not the way. I think that, that's speculation on my part. I don't think that that's actually part of the story.
I mean, I brought this up a couple times and I never remember the word, but it's the French saying is like looking into the void, right? And every time I see a
The
fire,
call of the void, I
the
think.
call of the void, yeah. And every time I see a fire alarm, pulled, I always think about pulling it. I never do, of course, but it's that impulse. Like, what would happen if I pulled this? Or,
Can I ask you? This is an aspect of the OCD stuff that I'm going on now. There's a question that you get asked. The thing that's great about, and I'm just gonna talk about it for a little bit. The thing that's great about therapy for OCD is that your OCD therapist is not going to jump to conclusions when you say stuff like, well, I can't stop walking by this nail that's sticking out of one of the beams of my front porch. I can't stop thinking about slamming my head into it. Right? It preoccupies me when I can see it.
yeah,
When I'm by my dad's bandsaw and the bandsaw is on, I want to put my hand in it.
yeah,
All that kind of stuff. Very similar to the Call of the Void, but it's all like, mutilation stuff and all that. You see a toilet and you want to reach into the toilet, that sort of thing. Like, most people don't,
yeah.
right? It's an intrusive thought, and this is part of what the therapy is for. But that Call of the Void, everybody has it a little bit. It's just that for me, it's very specific, and there are issues that I have to deal with. Plus, it's one of the interesting things. There's the autism, the ADHD, and the OCD all work together, and my therapist is able to differentiate between the different things. So there's a difference between having a stim and having a tick, right? When I do this, which I do often during my working thing, it calms me down a little bit. It makes me, if it calms you down, it's most likely a stim, for example. Anyway, all this being said, the thing that I'm doing, it's exposure therapy ish stuff. I think it's called exposure response prevention. Basically, they trigger you to have a reaction and then you don't do the reaction that you normally have. So like one of the things that I'm doing for it is I'm listening to somebody talk about flat Earth stuff. And whenever he says, this is my proof and it's circumstantial, but I don't care.
Right. Because
I
if it's
take
my
a
worldview.
Like he'll actually make that statement, right? I don't care. You know, this may not be true science, but I don't care. You know, I just take a pause and I sit with it and I don't talk to anybody about it. Oh no. I got
Talking to me about it.
I just yep, right up to you. And she said
Paul,
that
this is a safe space.
yeah, no, but I'm not supposed to. This is one of the things. You're one of the people that I'm not supposed to, because the whole thing about it, right? I can say this much: the whole thing about it is my need to correct people.
Yes.
And Jennifer brought up something that's very important, and I want to check with you to see if I've ever done this to you, because I've done it to her a lot, and I didn't even know that this is a bad thing. 50 years old, didn't know this is a bad thing. So it goes like this. Give me a fact that is wrong. And what I mean by that is, you know, this person played this person in this movie, or this band did this song, whatever. Just give me a wrong fact.
Yeah. I'll give you a wrong fact. The Seattle Mariners made it to the World Series last year.
Okay, now, this is what I would do. I would say, I don't think that's true. I don't know who did make it to the World Series, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't the Seattle Mariners. And for me, that statement is enough. I don't have to do anything else to prove that I'm right. I just know that you're wrong, and I've stated it, and that should be fine. That's the problem. That's the big issue. So another example I gave, somebody was like, I really liked Sylvester Stallone in Pulp Fiction. I said, well, Sylvester Stallone wasn't in Pulp Fiction. I'm pretty sure he was. No, he wasn't. Well, what character am I thinking of then? I don't know which character you're thinking of, but it wasn't Sylvester Stallone because he's not in Pulp Fiction. That to me, again, enough. But she pointed out, think about what you're saying. The only thing that you're saying is that you're wrong, I'm right. I don't have any facts to prove it, but you should believe me that you're wrong because I'm telling you that you're wrong. It's actually, what she said is actually true. That is what I've been doing for the past 50 years. And I didn't understand until she sat down and explained it to me why people found that annoying and didn't just believe me that I know what I'm talking about. Because for me, it's enough, right?
Yeah.
Because I know that, you know, Pippi Longstocking was not from Maine. She didn't live in Maine, Pippi Longstocking. She didn't. Well, how do you know? Where did she live? I don't know. But it wasn't, you know, that kind of thing. So that specific thing is what we're working on right now. And so one of the things that I do is I listen to stuff that I know is wrong, but I can't tell anybody about it. And I can't, you know, explain why the other person's wrong, all of that. I just have to sit with that person being wrong.
Yeah. No, I get it. I'm glad you're going through this. I'm glad you're doing that. I mean, you say you've asked if you've done that to me. Yeah, I mean, we've known each other for 20 years.
Yeah.
I know, and you know, I'm sort of like the opposite of you in that regard. If I'm in a conversation with a bunch of people, or even with one person, and somebody says an incorrect fact or gets something wrong, unless it's like germane to the point of what they're trying to make, or unless it's important, I actually won't say anything because I know how it feels for me when that happens, right? To be publicly shamed when you get something wrong. So I don't want to make that person feel bad. So I generally don't say anything if it's an unimportant detail. Even if it's like,
Yeah.
I can't remember who I was talking to recently. But it actually had to do with something that they thought I did that I didn't do. Right? And they were so like excited that they experienced that thing. I think it was a Sergeant Rigsby tent show. And I was never involved in any of the Sergeant Rigsby tent shows. And somebody was talking to me about how much they enjoyed it and how much, I don't think they even said like your performance specifically, but like they were talking about how much and I didn't want to actually deflate their enthusiasm. I know I cut out for a sec. I didn't want to actually deflate their enthusiasm in the moment and bring them down and tell them that they were actually incorrect in their enjoyment of something. I just let them have their moment, and then because it was unimportant, it was who cares, right? And then we moved on.
I think that we talked about this already, but if we haven't, this gives you the idea of why Jennifer is so important in our relationship, and also my problem. So my sister, Karen, stepsister, has a story about her dad, her dad before she became my stepsister, who died of cancer. That she was at the church with him under the dogwood trees, and it was just a beautiful time. And so we went, my wife and I went to the church to get dogwood tree flowers from that church to press them into a book for Karen to remember them by.
Yeah.
Right? As a nice gift. So we went there, and the flowers weren't dogwood flowers. They were it was a different type of tree. And I said, well, we've got to tell her that it's a different type of tree. And Jennifer's like, no, what we're going to do is we're going to get dogwood flowers.
Yeah.
And we're going to press them into a book, and we're going to give them to your sister. I'm like, but they're not the right flower. And she's like, your sister remembers dogwood trees and her dad. It's one of her best memories. We're not going to get her different flowers and tell her that her memory is wrong.
Yeah.
I'm like, but
that's the right move.
Yeah. And that's why she's important. So Ben, we're going to do a check-in, okay? It's going to be a 3, 2, 1, and we're going to clap on 1.
Oh yeah, it'll be terrible.
3, 2, 1. Oh geez. Okay. You do it now, and I'll do it.
Okay. So 3, 2, 1, clap. Right. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. What if I were to drop and call you back?
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, I'll do that. Okay.
All right.
So I am dropping because right now the
and Paul leaves, and for those of you still watching at home, it's just me now in widescreen. And so Paul is now currently reconnecting to the Zoom because we've actually discovered that it's more fun to do the show without lag as opposed to try to deal with lag.
We're going to see if that's true. And now, Ben, hello.
Hey, Paul, how's it going?
Good. I think we have less lag now.
You're probably right.
Yes.
The lag we're experiencing is only in our brains.
When you think about it, Ben, this amount of lag for video communication across the country is not so bad.
No, it's quite remarkable, actually. When we were kids, the idea of video phones was such a futuristic concept, and this is essentially what this is.
The thing that I like about Austin Powers. Oh, by the way, remind me to tell you, about a funny idea that I had. I haven't had a lot of funny ideas recently.
Is this
but
for the show
one,
or after the show?
this is for the show. We'll do it.
Okay.
We'll do it on the show.
But the thing you like about Austin Powers,
there's this thing on Austin Powers where he has a video phone in the 1960s, right? Where he's talking to his person, and then they move forward, and then there's a video phone, but there's lag and stuff like that. It's completely different. I thought that was great. Okay, so here's the thing. Are you familiar with the saddest story in 6 words by I think it's what's his head? Not Herman Melville.
Hemingway?
Yeah, Ernest Hemingway. That's right.
Yeah, I do know the story. Yeah.
For sale, baby shoes never worn. So I had this idea. It's Ernest Hemingway, but he's dressed like Austin Powers, and it's for sale, baby! Exclamation point. Shoes never worn. I think it's hilarious.
Oh, you.
Yeah.
I had an experience today where I brought up a line from Austin Powers. I don't know from which movie, and I didn't get the response because the person I was talking to didn't know what I was saying. I was at another theater earlier today helping them troubleshoot an AV thing, and the other person basically farted.
AV stands for audio visual.
Yes.
So the other person farted.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, excuse me," and I'm like, "How dare you pass wind before me?" And I was waiting for him to say, "I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was your turn."
That's great. That's really good. I like it. So we have to address, I think, the mustache to sideburns. If you notice, I've solved a problem. Or I didn't even know it was a problem. It's not really a problem. But it looked like I just had a beard that I took a chunk out of and a little bit of a Wolverine type thing. Now, Ben, the mustache swoops into the sideburns. This is probably the most elegant of the facial hair that I've had. And I wanted the people who weren't on the video to know why. Well, the people who weren't on the video aren't going to wonder why I keep looking at myself, because
I was
not going to see me.
I was gonna say you got a little Big Enos energy from Smoking the Bandit going there, but I'm looking at pictures of Pat McCormick from that movie, and he doesn't have they don't connect. He's got the large sideburns and the mustache, but they don't connect. They don't connect, Paul!
Well, it's probably because he had to wear a mask.
What?
And that's the thing, is that if COVID times come back, I got to start wearing masks again.
What do you mean if COVID times come back? COVID times are still here, Paul Goody.
Oh, well, of course they are, but no one around here makes you do anything because they're all crazy. Also, did you get your COVID booster, Ben?
I did get my COVID booster, yeah.
Did you get your flu shot?
I did get my flu shot, yeah.
Yep. I now am planning on getting my shingles shot sometime soon.
Right, because you are of that age.
Part 1 of the shingles shot. Although I think that I did get shingles. I think I really did. There was a time, and we, search the audio.
Are you sure?
Search the audio, because I'm pretty sure that I talked about it on the podcast. I thought that I had gotten bitten by a bunch of spiders. Like I was like, I don't know, a spider infestation.
Or just a bunch of times by one spider.
And then my doctor described shingles to me, and I'm like, huh. That might have been what I had.
You know what? I was thinking about, I just now thought of this. When my grandmother started getting gray hair, she kept saying that she was getting a little snow on the roof. Have you ever heard that phrase before?
I haven't heard that phrase before, but it reminds me of something I need to let you know about.
So now I'm just like, you have to get your shingles shot when you turn 50 because you're starting to get a little snow on the roof.
Hey, that's nice. I like that a lot. Okay, so Ben, you're familiar with the different things that people say when they have to go to the number 1, which is, I gotta drain the lizard, I've got to, whatever.
Yes.
And the number 2, I've got to go drop the kids off at the pool.
Right.
I was in a meeting, and somebody said, I've got to go pick up the kids at the pool. And I was like, oh, no. And everyone was like, what? And I'm like, never mind. Never mind.
Oh,
But,
Lord.
I mean, come on. It can't just be me.
I was, yeah, my favorite one of those is growing monkey tails.
I've never heard that before.
Or just growing a monkey tail. Having it be plural puts a little new spin on it.
Yeah.
Speaking of monkeys,
you gotta. Sorry, go ahead.
Are you watching The Fall of the House of Usher on Netflix?
Okay, so this is the thing. I stopped watching it and then I started watching it again. And Jennifer came in and she's like, "Why are you still watching this? I thought you didn't like it." And I'm like, "I don't, but there's some good stuff in it." So I'm still. A lot of people, most people like it much more than I do.
Yeah.
And I can tell you why, Ben. Debauchery on film and in TV shows never holds up. The idea of this is the
You're
most
a prude,
decadent thing.
obviously.
Well, no, it doesn't hold up. It's not bad enough, is what I'm saying.
Ah, yeah. Well,
And
yeah.
I think
It's
it
broadcast
might be
television.
because I was in the theater scene, in Seattle in certain times, and I've seen people do things that are
It's
crazy.
I think you're talking about the second episode, that party scene.
Yeah,
Yeah,
where it's like, ooh,
I know,
look
it's
at it.
scandalous.
There's a naked woman dancing,
Right.
and that
People
kind
are
of-
kissing. I don't know why I put air quotes on
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's just, it's stylized TV. There are still standards for streaming TV. It's like,
Yeah,
that's I kind of give it a pass because like you're not going to see hardcore like pornography style debauchery on
Well, and
a
this is the
Netflix
thing.
show.
is that I don't think that you need necessary hardcore style debauchery and stuff like that. But I was trying to think of scenes in things where I was like, okay, yeah, I'm leaving this party. This is not something that I want to have happen. One was Jacob's Ladder was pretty weird when he was at that party and the
Haven't seen it.
Okay. Well, but the thing that really got me, are you familiar with the movie 13? Do you remember that? It was playing in it's about like this girl and she runs into another girl who's a bad influence on her.
I know of it, but I have not seen it.
There's a part, I think it's at the very beginning, spoilers for the movie 13, where they're on some sort of drug and the girl's face is numb, and so she has her friend slap her as hard as she can, and she's laughing because she can't feel it.
Yeah.
I was like, nope, no, thank you, no. That wasn't bad.
What about that bothered you?
Things are bad. What bothered me about somebody slapping somebody else in the face because they couldn't feel it?
Yeah.
It's disturbing. It's disturbing behavior.
All right, so you didn't think that I mean, because we're talking about debauchery that doesn't go far enough, right? So this is something you felt that went too far.
It went far. It went far enough for me to go, yeah, no, that's
Okay.
not cool. I don't like that. So I asked Jennifer, well, what do you think? And she was like, play piercing, a knife play, blood play, that sort of thing. I'm like, yeah, okay, that would. They probably couldn't show up, but that would be something.
Yeah.
Someone cutting off someone else's finger. Yeah, that would do it. I think that would make me go, I don't want to be at this party anymore.
We're getting into sort of like, body horror kind of stuff. But there is something, I did see something today that like if I saw this, it's going too far for me. And this is something that happened in real life and not on TV. I don't know, it actually made the front page of Reddit on the WTF subreddit. And it's this
Mark Maron. That's not what the WTF subreddit.
So you're familiar with the gum wall in the Pike Place Market?
Oh, yes. Is it because somebody said that they cleaned it and then it came back? or something.
Yeah,
like that.
they clean it every like 10 years or so, and like it's
Yeah.
amazing. It's amazing how fast the gum wall returns. But the video that I saw on the WTF
It's
subreddit
a
today
and
was
it's a wall that's covered with gum. People stick their
was
gum on the.
this woman basically just licking up the wall, licking the gum, and then like chewing some of it that like was hanging down. And and she's got like she's very well endowed, is wearing a tight white top, so like guys are gonna be like, oh, an influencer, and yeah, so if I saw that in real life, I'd like, I wouldn't do this, but I would feel like throwing up a little bit in my mouth.
See, Ben, this is the thing, is that, I really do think if they had a gum wall like that in that scene, I would have gone, whoa, too much. Yeah. I think I really would have. But, and here's the thing. I mean, maybe that's the point. Maybe the idea is that, she says it already, is it what you wanted? And he's like, it's not enough, that sort of thing. Maybe that's what we're supposed to feel like, too. Like this is not actually as bad as, it could be or whatever. But anyway, so I started watching it again. I think I'm on episode 2 or 3.
I watched episode 3 last night. That's why I mentioned the monkeys, because monkeys play a part.
Because I'm halfway through that one. So okay. Where she where the woman comes up and says, "Oh, here's my medical chart," and she's like, "Oh, I'm looking through your medical chart, and you're exactly what I want." That part.
Yeah.
That's where I stopped.
Okay.
It was Jennifer. She came in and she said, "I'm saving you from yourself," and started playing another show. And the reason she said, "I'm saving you from yourself," is because, like I said, I told her I don't think I want to watch this anymore, and then I'm watching it again. It's if I was like, "Hey, this is cool, I want to watch it," she'd be fine. But when I was like, "I don't think I want to," I just deleted Sudoku game from my phone because it has a daily do the daily puzzle, and whenever there's a daily puzzle, I find myself staying up past my bedtime to complete the puzzle, and it doesn't make any sense to do that.
Yeah.
So I have a bedtime. I usually go to bed at 9.
9. That's 7 p.m. my time, but sometimes I hear from you after that. So those are the days when you are still up.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason I do it is because I have to wake up at 4 p.m. your time.
Yeah.
To go to work.
4 p.m.? Paul, you sleep a long time.
Yeah, 4 a.m. Sorry. And this is the thing, like I said, they want to move. The kid and the wife, they want to move. Okay, Ben, I have a question for you.
Yes, Paul.
If we were to move to either Spokane or the Tri-Cities, would we see you more than we do now?
Yeah, I would drive to the Tri-Cities more than Spokane because because you don't have to go through.
Tri-Cities are closer.
Yeah, and you don't have to go through a mountain pass to get.
No,
to
you
it.
do have to go through the pass to
well, you can go down to the river and follow the river.
Did you see what happened?
No.
I said, no, you do have to go through the pass, and then you told me something, and I didn't do anything else. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't fight you. That was good. See, a naturally occurring Paul correcting Ben without the something so amazing I had to point it out myself, as Ricky Jay would say. A feat so amazing that I had to point it out myself. I think it's what he said. Anyway.
I was going to say that, but it's not an important detail, Paul, so.
Thank you, Ben. But anyway, that's one of the places that they're
So why about. Spokane? What's the allure of Spokane?
Spokane is just bigger than, a lot of other places. It has a Ferris wheel.
The Ferris
cheaper. Here's the
Seattle has a Ferris wheel, Paul. If that's a draw.
I know. Cheapness, the cheap nature, the less money of living in Spokane. Apparently it's cheaper. Jennifer has been doing research.
Cost of living analyses.
Yeah, her dad moved back to the Tri-Cities. So
Yeah, you mentioned
you
that.
know,
I figured that's why you would consider going there.
yeah. I mean, we would love to live in Seattle if we could. I mean, that's obviously the dream, but it's just not
Let's just
feasible.
all get a big house in Seattle. Let's all share a
I
big
mean,
house.
I'd do it. I would absolutely do it. But
We got to find somebody to buy us a house now.
yeah, exactly. Let's all share a big house. Yes. Share a big house in Hawaii even. We could do it. You know, the moving to Detroit thing probably not going to happen. Um but it's still one of those, like, you know, edge case scenarios. The basic thing is that they want to be in a city, and we can't right now. The problem is the transportation public transportation system in St. Louis is not good.
Yeah.
Also, the politics in Missouri are not good. So we can't
Right.
really move to the big city that we're near right now.
Right. But you're
Um,
also like the politics of Eastern Washington aren't that great either. It's a blue state, yeah, but it's a very
Right.
red area.
Yeah, and speaking of very red areas, I went to the doctor the other. No, the other thing
It looks like a
that,
collection of spider bites.
you know, obviously there's the Washington D.C. area. If I'm going to stick in the same industry that I'm in now, if I want to do that, there's some places around there that we would maybe need to go to, Maryland, that sort of thing. But, you know, that's not where our people are. We would like to move back to where all of our friends live. You know, that's the hard part. So somebody
Yeah.
buy us a house. And then that would work. I was thinking about Conworks the other day. Conworks was an experimenty thing that seemed to go pretty well. Oh, you know why I was thinking about Conworks?
Why were you thinking about
Is
Conworks?
because of that episode of Fall of the House of Usher, where I was like, hey, you know, nightclub, sure, but what about turning this into a theater space? You've thought about? I mean, yeah, you could have a night rave with people and drugs and stuff, but what about, hear me out, having a proposal for different shows that people can put on?
Yeah.
And see, this is, yeah. So yeah, the fall of the House of Usher is, you know, by the guy. I really liked Midnight Mass a lot, so I want to
Mike
like
Flanagan.
this too. I want to like the things that Mike Flanagan does.
Haunting of Hill House.
Yep, that was pretty good also. So I think this is fine. I just had to get over the idea of, oh, here's another Edgar Allan Poe reference, wink wink. As soon as I got past it, you know, and part of the thing is the monkeys, I'm sure. Yes, monkeys always.
It's
Dark
it's
Skies.
it's a Fall of House of Usher. I mean, Netflix released it at the right time because it's fall. We're getting into the horror movie season. It's ostensibly a horror show, so
It's fall. The fall of the House of Usher.
you know, and Usher, the recording artist, is a big hit these days
autumn
with all
of
the
House of
kids.
Usher. Yes, exactly.
The autumn of the House of
People
Snoop Dogg doesn't
going
really
to
roll off the
church,
tongue.
being shown where their seats are. It's all. So here's this is the basic thing. Falling Skies. Do you remember it?
No.
Or Dark Skies? Is it Dark Skies or Falling Skies? I think
Dark
it's
Skies sounds familiar, but I don't think I've seen it.
Okay, so during the time that the X-Files was big, NBC started their own version of the X-Files, kind of, and it was these people who were involved in conspiracy theories, and it had is it Jesse Parcell? What's the name of the guy who found the weather balloon at Area 51 or was photographed with it? Is it Jesse Marcel or Jesse Parcell? Anyway, I think it's Jesse somebody, I believe is his name. Leaning out of the window, shooting at a UFO with a rifle is in the first episode, and also a monkey, I think a chimpanzee, not really a monkey, an ape of some kind, a primate of some kind, running around the halls of a government facility with a gun because it's a super intelligent monkey and it's found a gun. And Andy didn't like it. I'm like, how can you not like this? It's
you know
amazing.
what
The reason
Chekhov says when you introduce a monkey with a gun in Act 1.
Exactly. The reason that Andy didn't like it is, of course, he's a diehard X-Files fan, and he rightfully thought that NBC was just, trading on that.
I mean, that happens all the
sense.
time. That's the television industry.
Exactly. Speaking of the television industry, we've got 5 minutes left, Ben. Let's
Five?
do
Only
another-
5?
Yeah. This has been our 400th episode, and I think it's been great, on par with the others. Let's talk about today in GudeLaurance history.
All right,
It's not
Paul.
actually today. It's whatever the last one that we did
Right.
was.
Do you remember what the last one was?
I do remember what the last one was because I then went outside and performed it for Jennifer. It was Tales from Fatherhood or something of that nature. Whatever. What was it called? Scenes from Fatherhood?
Scenes from Fatherhood, parts
Yes.
1 and 2.
Yes.
All right, that was last week. This week,
which is really good. Yeah. So this week, what are we talking about?
this week, April 7th, 2006. April 7th, 2006, we did the GudeLaurance Joe Adcock Theater Review Mad Lib. Do you remember that one?
Oh my gosh. So there's this guy named Joe Adcock. Joe Adcock from the Seattle Weekly, I want to say?
The PI.
The PI. Now, did Joe Adcock ever actually review us, or were we just imagining what he would say about GudeLaurance?
I don't think he ever reviewed us. If he ever reviewed us, it would have been like as part of a Spin the Bottle review, and he never came to those.
And Joe Adcock, if I remember correctly, the Seattle Weekly was relatively
the PI.
not
He worked for the PI.
conservative. PI. Why did I keep on saying the Seattle Weekly?
I don't know.
The PI was sort of the big time newspaper, sort of the establishment newspaper, the main newspaper, I would say. Am I right on that?
For a while, the Seattle Times and the PI operated under a joint operating agreement where the PI was the morning paper and the Times was the afternoon paper.
Then?
The Weekly was
like
it was the counterpart to the Stranger. So the Stranger was like the progressive radical rag, and the Weekly was more progressive. In terms of the PI and the Times relationships, the PI was actually considered more liberal and the Times more conservative.
Okay, there we go. So Joe Adcock, do you have it by any chance, Ben? Do you have the Mad Lib?
It's not online. It's in a binder somewhere in my closet.
Okay.
I do not have it on me.
We should, Ben, if you can find it. And I don't like giving you homework on the podcast. If you can find it, I'd love to read it for the people at some future.
So what we did is Paul and I wrote out a Mad Lib style review for. Oh, first off, we have to explain Joe Adcock's review style. Yes. Because Joe Adcock wasn't a critic; he was a reviewer, and so his reviews were basically point by point what happened in the play he just saw.
Yeah.
And basically whether or not he liked it or not. No real critical analysis of the place. So we wrote essentially a Mad Lib style review of one of our performances.
One of the things that Ben and I like to do is to break things down into their component parts. There's a famous thing that we did where we did a thing about George Carlin where we were like, I can't even do it anymore.
Yeah.
Because Jennifer took us to task for it, and she was like he's more than just that, and you know it. He innovated this, and this.
We're just poking fun of one aspect of his comedy, not his entire.
We're just poking fun of one aspect of his comedy.
Only one aspect.
How many aspects? Just the one, thank you.
You ever think about the word aspect? You ever rolled it around in your mouth, the word aspect? Anyway, you were saying...
you got ass on one side, you got pecked on the other. I'll take the ass every time. We're not doing... That's not...
Anyway. Anyway.
So Joe Adcock, we crystallized his review style, and then we turned it into Mad Libs, Ben.
We before the show, we went around to the audience and we asked audience members to give us like an adjective or a noun or whatever types of word that we needed, and then that was our performance. We read this Mad Lib, this audience generated Mad Lib on stage.
And one thing that I would love to say, and I believe that this is true, is that people were excited when their word came up.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say that there was like applause.
Yeah, like ooh.
Yeah, you're
like
probably
that.
not wrong there.
So if we can find it, we'll if Ben can find it.
If Ben can find it,
we'll provide it to you.
I gotta find my 2006 binder.
So Ben,
Paul,
we're at the end of another podcast, Ben.
We are,
and it was great. We had a good time. And 400 of these, Ben. 400 hours spent with Ben Lawrence. And that's
give or take a
wonderful.
few minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, we honestly don't. I mean, this is the thing. We don't farm it out to other people. If we can't make it, we make it work some other way.
Some other way.
Although we do occasionally have guests. Who knows? We've had at least, in 400 episodes, we've had at least 4 guests. Maybe there will be 4 more.
One guest per 100 episodes, I think, is a good
exactly.
mark. Every 2 years.
Great.
All right, Paul. It's good talking to you. In the meantime, I hope that you will. Oh, I was going to do the sign off. Do you have something else to say?
Yeah. Let's check just really quick, Ben. It's time for our 400th episode check-in. We didn't do this, and I apologize. Do you want to pick a new theme for the next 400 episodes?
A new theme?
Right now we're just doing kind of, 2 people who are talking. We're doing it for people hundreds of years in the future, and also for AI bots. Do you want to do something else, like a history of fishing or anything, or do you want to keep what we're doing?
It's very learning. I think I'm gonna say let's revisit that on the 500th episode. It sounds like a good middle ground.
You want to defer to the 500th?
I'm deferring to the 500th episode.
We'll defer to the 500th then. You heard it here first, folks.
And then we'll talk about, like, every episode will be about trains and their role in society.
Well, hold on, don't pick it yet. That's your pitch. I still have a counterpoint that I can do if I need to.
The joy of fishing. All right.
The joy of fishing off of a train during the Industrial Revolution.
While painting.
While painting. That's the episode name. And with that,
that's a Mad Lib in and of itself. All right, Paul Goody.
Ben and I are going to ask you to please keep it wrong until the next episode.
Keep it wrong, Paul. I will talk to you next week.